What is up, guys? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto live stream. I am Boi Crypto, and I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. We got a big show for you tonight. We are talking about, as you can see in the thumbnail, is this the last chance for you to get into discount juicy price PulseChain? Because we had a warning from a little bird, a little duck, whatever you would like to call him, but Richard Hart the other day saying that quite possibly that the free bridge fee period may be going away sometime soon. So we'll have to look out for that because we have been benefiting from that here for quite a while here, buying the belows of the PulseChain ecosystem. I know nobody really cares about interest rates or anything like that anymore, but we do have some impactful news over the inflation data here in the U.S. today and how it's going to affect the rest of the year. That's actually going to be pretty interesting and maybe a curveball compared to what you and I had thought about at Ewok. We got Franklin Templeton filing for an ETH ETF. We've got gophers. I mean, let's face it, that is what everybody wants to talk about, obviously. We want to talk about dip catchers, gophers, so we're going to do that. Welcome in, everybody. John J., Philly, Daddy Hexler, Pulse Believer, DJ Moonboy, as always. Jeff, the newcomer. We're welcome you into the PulseChain ecosystem, man, and Bit Finesse as well. So welcome in, everybody. Smash the like. We do this show every Tuesday night. We love having you here. So thank you for supporting us and Real DeFi. Ewok, how are you feeling this evening?
I'm feeling good. It's PulseChain's 9-month birthday today, so happy birthday to PulseChain. Feeling good. Things are looking good. A couple normal pullbacks here and there, but overall things are bullish. Sentiment bullish. Minus the everyday drama that we see in Twitter land, the toxic Twitter land. So
yeah.
But other than that, yeah, man, things are good. Things are real good.
Yeah, that's always going to be there. Not much you can do about that. But yeah, things are good. Yeah, we have our customary dip a little bit here leading in. We've kind of been dipping a little bit in the PulseChain ecosystem all day. Before we get there, though, we'll just take a real quick look at the rest of the crypto market. BTC, I'll tell you what, it's really been surprising. I mean, like we hit 50K just yesterday. Probably were there at some point today. I don't know. Bitcoin's at 49.5 right now. We have ETH a little bit over 2,600. And a lot of the alts up there doing decently over the last few days as well. I want to ask you what you make of this bullish Bitcoin stuff, Ewok, because, we have been saying for a few weeks now that we definitely think that we're going to see back into the 30Ks again. And a lot of people have been kind of marking that like 32K area or so as like a level of support that we could get down into when things get a little bit bearish in the charts again. But I'll tell you, we haven't seen that yet. We've actually seen the opposite here. We're still 2-3 months away from the Bitcoin halving. So what do you make of this? I mean, like, do you think we still go back down there? Because again, we're going to get into it in a minute, but we got some news today that may mean that we don't go down there maybe anytime soon. We'll see. But yeah, what do you make of the Bitcoin price right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's looking strong. You had the 50 and 200. The cross still hasn't really pulled back much. I don't know. You can see it in this picture here, but it hasn't started to come back down. I think that $50,000 level was a psychological level. Of course, it's going to have some resistance there just because it is 50,000 and, you've got a bunch of resistance back in history at that level as well. But yeah, I mean, things are just, they're not looking like pullback at this time. Is that a fake out? Who knows? I really don't know. But yeah, we did think it would retrace a little bit before the halving. And it still might. I mean, it still may. A lot of times that halving does create a little bit of a sell-off. So, but with the ETFs now involved and everything else, we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, as of right now, it's looking pretty bullish. The market cap BTC dominance just started to pull back a little bit. We got our first weekly red candle going, so it's down a little bit. Obviously, the week hasn't closed out yet, but if this starts to pull back a little bit, that is good for the altcoins. So, just keep an eye on the dominance as well. But yeah, as of right now, not seeing that pullback that we anticipated quite yet.
Not at all. I think we will eventually, but yeah, to your point about the Bitcoin dominance, I think we will definitely continue to see that drop here over the next quarter, really, and past the halving. And again, we'll get into even more why when we review kind of the CPI reading we got today and the projections for the upcoming FOMC meeting in May. But real quick, let's look at the PulseChain ecosystem prices. Again, having a little bit of a dip right now, but yeah, it is a bull market now. These dips are absolutely for buying, as I saw somebody say in the chat a moment ago. Don't feel like you're catching a falling knife so much anymore. Now it's more like, let me gobble up whatever I can here.
Yeah.
Pulse is sitting there at the little bit over the sack rate, 3 zeros and a 1-4. Pulse X is down 43% from sack rate, was up over below, I should say, 40% below yesterday at some point. It's been pumping pretty dang hard. And the hex is at 2.75, which is right about where they have been. If you wanted to look at Pulse Ewok, we could do that just to see where we're looking. But the last couple of days have been very, very bullish. We saw it almost punch through that 1.5 number. I think maybe it did for a bit. I didn't really see, but we've kind of been rejected down off that. But yeah, getting very close to it and putting in higher lows here. So yeah, what do you make of the Pulse chart here?
Yeah, the high on this candle was actually just over. So it was the 1509 is where it made it to. Yeah, I mean, it's healthy. Look, I mean, when you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 daily green candles, a couple red ones is not a bad thing. It's looking super healthy. You're making consistently higher lows. Each step up is a little bit higher of a low, and as it pulls back, as long as it doesn't eclipse one of the other lows and we make a lower low, this thing is just primed, looking good. It's just looking like a little staircase up, and if it just keeps doing that, before you know it, will be double this amount, and everyone will be like, "Whoa, what happened?"
That's exactly how it happens. I mean, I think some
Yeah.
people forget like how quickly these pumps kind of come, and it's after you've consolidated for a little while, and then yeah, literally like overnight you reach those new levels. And I mean, we're not too far off from the PulseChain all-time high. I mean, it's not even a 2x from here at this point. Or right, actually, it's pretty much a 2x actually from where we are right now. So very, very close to getting there. So yeah, we're going to get into how much time we may have to buy this ecosystem at these depressed prices, but the clock is definitely ticking. I mean, I think you can feel it big time right now. So, go
Yeah, the
ahead.
longer you wait, the more of the gains you're going to miss out on. And then we talk about this. I talked to DJ and Moonboy on the phone the other day, and I was telling him this. I said it really adds up when you buy, even if it's like 0.0001 or 0.0001, as opposed to 1.5, because
Mm,
you're every two or every three, you're doubling your X's over that person. So, it really does add up down the road, when even if it's just a little bit right now, it could be tremendous later in the number of X's that you get out of your return. So just think about that. And, these chances are probably not going to come back for a while. I mean, they, never know what happens in the next bear cycle, but geez, it's going to get away from people if they say, I'm just waiting for a pullback. I'm just waiting for a
right.
pullback. You may never catch it, and you could get easily left behind.
That's what I was just going to say that you just said is, the difference between these low numbers. That doesn't mean necessarily like set limit orders and just wait for lower prices. It just means like really everything right now. I mean, for you and I know is basically an auto buy. It's just as soon as we can get into the market. So,
Yeah.
because again, this could take off any time now. So cool. Looking really good there. We're going to get into further detail about that in a moment, but we have to approach this real quick. Okay. So the CPI data today, I guess, surprised some people. That's the inflation number in the US. I guess it came in a little bit higher than people were anticipating. I had no real idea what people were anticipating, and the number's probably fake anyway, but I guess it came in at like 3.1% or something like that. But more importantly, what that does affect is the May 1st Fed meeting, the FOMC in May, which you and I have been saying for, 3 to 6 months probably now, that we think that that's probably where we see the Fed pivot, or at least the very first point in time in which we could see the Fed pivot. Well, the market generally agreed with us. They were pretty much 60-40 in favor that the Fed would cut rates in that May 1st meeting until this reading came out today. That has done a 180 now. So now only 40% expect a pivot in May, and the majority believe that we will have the Fed hold interest rates in May. This is really interesting because it kind of resets the time frame for everything here. You know, we were expecting that in May. The next meeting isn't until at least mid or late June. So if it wouldn't go according to the plan that you and I thought he walked, to where we see the pivot in May, which again, if you're just catching up or aren't, you know, somebody that's been that interested or follow like how macroeconomics work in this kind of environment with Fed hiking and cutting rates, when they do pivot like that throughout history, we see an average of a 27% drawdown in the stock market. So there is a significant drawdown after that. So if we get this delayed past May and into at least June, who knows, maybe even late summer, what do you think that could mean for the markets? Because I mean, we're obviously not going to go down by then, but what I'm thinking is, you know, we may see that sell off of Bitcoin after the halving, but I really think that if they would hold rates and we wait until June, July, whatever it is, we could have a really good alt season here. Like, I think we could see things pump hardcore because, as you were just looking, Ewok, Bitcoin dominance is going to be coming down. I believe we're due for that alt season. I think this delay could really help that. And then I want your thoughts on that. But then my other question is, how much sense would it make too with these inflation numbers coming in like that? And we know that the stock market's going to be affected by the Fed pivoting. How much of this also would be just to protect the stock market? We are in an election year to help out the incumbent president, quote unquote, that we have right now. How much could it be that we want to keep the markets up to also help him and keep everything kind of hunky-dory looking as we head into November for the U.S. election? What do you think of all those scenarios?
Yeah, I think the second option that you gave is probably more realistic. I think they're protecting price because if they do lower it in May, you know, it's usually what, 5-6 months, and you do get a pullback. Well, that's right around election time. So I do think there's probably some discussions being had about protecting things for a little bit longer and say, hey, well, let's do it right after the election. At least if the new guy gets in, then we can blame him, just like they always do. And because that's the way the polls are looking right now, right? You know, it's looking like we'll probably have a new president. So I have a feeling,
or a return president, anyway,
or well,
a repeat president.
But when I say new, it's like, yeah, you know what I mean. Not the same. So yeah, I have a feeling that is more what's happening. You know, I don't think it's because the rates are the, you know, everything is down to where, you know, they not where they anticipate it, but it's down. It's headed in the right direction. I feel that there's, you know, political theater happening behind the scenes that is what's causing the delay of the pivot. So
I think that will definitely be why. And yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, like pretty much every time that we've had these polls, I don't mean the election ones, but the polls going into the Fed decision, they've been right on them. So we're still a ways out. I mean, we're almost 3 months out from that next meeting.
And you said this one switched from 60-40 to the opposite, right?
Correct. Yeah. It did a 180 basically.
Yeah.
So we will monitor that. But yeah, it's it would certainly be interesting because that's what everybody's kind of been expecting. And if we get that extended out, we could be in for a good run here for a little while. So nothing we can really do about it, of course, but good to monitor and plan around a little bit because it can make things very interesting here throughout 2024. Last piece of boring news before we get to Gophers is so this Ethereum ETF. So I believe we already had one filed or requested by our friends at BlackRock. Now we've got Franklin Templeton, who I've never heard of, that applied for an Ethereum ETF just the other day or yesterday, I think it was. So I guess the existing one that was filed for by BlackRock is the SEC decision is due by May, whether they're going to delay it or not. we know the games that they play, obviously, and you know, I don't know. I can't imagine them just approving one right off the bat or anything. They'll probably just delay it like a month early or something. That was kind of their operating mode when it came to Bitcoin. But let me ask you, because this would be a big thing in terms of, you know, crazy bullishness in the short term if something like that got approved. Like it's one thing for a Bitcoin ETF to be approved. We've already heard that in the news for years basically at this point. But an ETH ETF really has not been talked about. And that would be, people would go insane. Now, it would certainly be, without a doubt, a sell the news event. But what do you think, Ewok, first off, the chances are about them getting approved here in May? I don't know if there's going to be a deadline for the Franklin Templeton one. And what would it mean for the markets if it did or didn't happen in your eyes?
Well, as for the markets, I have no idea what would happen. It's kind of come out of nowhere. You know, the Bitcoin one was being talked about for how long? Years?
Yeah, right.
Pretty much. So it was a huge event. This ETH thing is new. Or newer. I know it's been discussed. I've heard things, but at the same time, you think about the judge who made the statements about it and said how ridiculous it was and how they had to go through all those denials just to approve it anyway.
Yeah.
And I know there was a lot of things raised at that point where they said, this is ridiculous. You guys are being just, it's a waste of everybody's time. I think this one could happen a lot faster. You know what I mean? Since there's precedent set already for it, I can't wait till the SEC loses a lot of power and just denies people just for shits and giggles, because you know it's getting old at this point, and the judges are seeing it. They're commenting on it. So yeah, I could see this happening a lot faster. Now, what will it do to the markets? You know, it could be a buy the news. I mean, if Ethereum is pumping pretty good. It was up to 2,700, over 2,700 just the other day. You know, it's pulled back a little bit to like 2,634, but yeah, I think it could be very bullish in the meantime, and then definitely a sell the news type thing. Buy the rumor, sell the news. So, you know, it could have a nice little run up too. I don't think it's going to be as difficult to get through, and there won't be as many denials. Maybe they deny it the first time and it goes through the second or something like that. Who knows? But I can see them passing it pretty quickly.
See, I feel the opposite way. I don't think they'll do it actually, because they just finally did the Bitcoin one. And I think now to request an Ethereum one, with it being an even more exotic investment for, you know, old school investors and stuff like that, I don't know. I feel like that the SEC will feel like, hey, we just did you guys a huge favor already. And keep in mind too, when they approved the BTC one, Gary made sure to come by and say like how this was, you know, in no way a reflection of anything positive dealing with Bitcoin and yada, yada, yada. Like, I mean, he made sure to just like insult crypto and Bitcoin and everything right after it anyway. So I honestly don't think this will happen. In due time, I think it will. Probably after Gensler is gone, which, I mean, if you check your watch, maybe in about 6 months or so. But I do think it happens eventually, but I don't think that this is going to happen as early as May. Maybe like height of the bull market type thing, into the bull market, something like that. But I personally don't think it's going to happen that quickly. But
BlackRock usually gets what they want. I mean, it
took them a while to get the other one, though. I mean,
it did. And, and even though Gensler said that, you know, his backhanded whatever it was, there's also videos of him saying how ETH was not a security as well back a couple years ago before he got this position. So
there's old dirty movies. Yeah,
those old dirty movies of Gary Gensler.
Gensler.
Gary
Gensler. The XXX tapes that you're not supposed to see. Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to happen so quickly, but we'll keep our eye on it anyway. It's going to be an interesting story to follow. Let's talk Gophers. All right, so news broke 3 days ago. It's insane, like how it's only been a couple of days since these things actually premiered. So Dipcatcher, who has created what the you can help me out with this, but like Maxi, and did he create all those different Hex staking contracts?
All the derivatives. So there's, Maximus, there's Decimus, there's Lucky, Trio, Base. He did the pool party thing.
Yeah,
lots of the derivatives. So
him
pretty
and
intelligent guy. Sorry.
Definitely is. Him and Goldkey definitely have created a lot of good products. And he was on Dipcatcher too. I know we talked about like him and Alex McWhorter's segment on Matty Allen's the Hex conference was definitely one of my favorite segments. I think you said the same thing. So always love to hear what Dipcatcher has to say, but love that he has come out with these. So this is, first off, we should explain the first part of this, and that is this new phenomenon of the ERC 404s, which, long story short, is essentially how you can buy fractions of an NFT. So you don't have to shell out whatever it may cost for an entire NFT based on what the NFT's current price is. You can basically DCA into it. And at the time that you have one full token or one full NFT at that point, that is when the picture, the JPEG, will just like appear for you, essentially. So you won't know as you're buying like fractions of whether it be the Gophers or whatever this Pandora project was, which was kind of the first mover as far as NFTs go on Ethereum. It was this Pandora entity. But whatever the NFT is, you would need to surpass one full token to actually find out which one you end up with, depending upon which Gopher it is you're after or whatever it may be. First off, Ewok, I mean, what do you, before we actually get into the Gopher stuff, I've had a feeling you had some up. Before we get into it specifically, what do you make just of this technology and how big of a, I guess, narrative for this bull market do you think this will be? Because it's kind of one of those, like, I know Sami always talks about like cycle 1 versus cycle 2 narratives. It's one of those things where, yeah, this could be like a new narrative because it is a new thing, but it's also not a new thing. It's just kind of, we talk about horizontal scaling a lot and making things better that already exist. Well, that's kind of what this is. I mean, like, people were kind of addicted to NFTs last time around, and now you have a way of DCAing into one without having to like go on OpenSea and buy like some $3,000 NFT or something like that. So, yeah, what do you make overall of this as a creation? Oh, you there?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. I thought I was going to sneeze. It was a cough. No, I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of cool things that could come of this. I could see all kind of derivative type things being created out of it. Maybe even with say real estate investments or things like that, where you could fractionalize different people buying in to say said apartment building. You create a token, and everybody that kind of puts money in has a fraction of it. Now, if you own the whole thing, then you would definitely get the deed, which would be the NFT, if that's possible. Something along those lines. There's always real world use case things that are out there that could be kind of turned into this. So, they did the same thing with the HSIs, how we made the Hex stakes into a NFT kind of thing. So, there's always good ideas out there that can be put into real world, use cases. I think it's a good idea. And you and I were talking about this prior, and I don't know if you want to kind of go down this rabbit hole yet of
let's go down the Gopher hole,
the actual NFT itself. And so what happens is, as you buy portions, say if you buy, all right, we'll pull up the chart just for a reference, and you can see what this thing has done. It's up to $900 already for a full one token of the Gopher. So if you buy one token, as you earn that 1.0, you get an actual NFT that is minted, and it becomes one of these. Now some of them are rare. I don't know how rare they get.
I'm pretty sure the pink, the purple or pink glasses is one of the most rare. I forget that one's name. Gizmo.
Gizmo. Yeah. So, I thought at one point it had showed how rare there was a pie chart somewhere of
Dipcatcher. I'll try to find the. Yeah, you go ahead and do what you're doing. I'll try to find that from Dipcatcher. I know he tweeted it.
But my point anyway was, okay, so you own 1.0, you get your NFT. If you don't like it, sell point 0.1, you burn the NFT and buy point 0.1 back. You mint a new NFT until you keep doing that until you get whatever you wanted. That's one of the things that it takes the rarity out of some of these special ones that you can get really lucky with. And if you spend enough in fees, you'll eventually just get it without having to buy a whole new token to try again type thing. So, that was one of the things that I'm like, well, if you end up with a rare one, is it really rare, or did somebody just keep doing that until they got the one that they wanted? That was my only downside for it.
But to me, like, does that really make it less rare? I mean, yeah, it's probably a stupid way to go about doing it, and like you said, you're eating yourself up with fees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Will it really be worth it at the end of the day? But in what way? I don't know that it's really making it less rare, because you're probably like you just said, like, eating yourself up, like constantly doing these other transactions until you finally get the one you want.
Yeah, but if there's one that's minted, say 1 out of every 50 times, and you get it on the third one or whatever it may be, because you kept trying, you got a more rare one. I don't know. It just, like I said, it kind of takes some of the rarity out of the luck of the draw. I think, just my.
I don't know that I don't know that it will, but I still think that, yeah, I agree with you that it won't be a good thing to do. To constantly do that. I mean, I would just want to get the one that I get and move on from there. And admittedly, like, neither one of us were NFT people or anything as far as like the actual JPEG type of NFTs last cycle. I just found
and I'm not endorsing spending $900 on one of these things either. So don't take that the wrong way. We're just kind of talking about the project and what it does and how it actually works. I don't have any. I don't know that I'll be buying any. I do, like I said, I respect Dipcatcher and the work that he's done. It's just not for me. So
I'm taking a look. So I just copied it into the chat, and let me send it to you if you want to share your screen on it. I'm going to send you the pie chart that he made. So yeah, so there is one that's only 6%. Hang on here. I was totally wrong about Gizmo. Sorry, Gizmo. Neon Flash Drive Glowpaw is 6%. He looks like the rarest, he or she. Camo Lockdown McTunnel is about 8%. So they are the
Lockdown McTunnel.
Yeah, they are the most rare. So you'd have to work pretty hard. Now, you're probably going to get Minty. I know Minty's been tweeting a lot about what's been going on with this protocol, Minty Big Bank Burrower. So he's kind of been talking a lot about what's been going on. But yeah, there you go. There's the pie chart for there you go. The most rare and everything, if you guys want to check that out. I think this is great because, it's funny. Like, you can look at this and think it's stupid and laugh at it, and we are. But also, people are going to buy these. They already are buying these. And this is the very beginnings of the bull market. Like, this is exactly the kind of stuff that is going to be popping off. Like, okay, everybody's making a big deal about. So we had the Super Bowl the other night. And regardless of what you think about that overall broadcast or anything, one definite fact about it was that there were no crypto ads. So nobody's talking about crypto on the Super Bowl or anything right now. But if 1 year from now, when we've got the Chiefs and another team in the Super Bowl, we could have Gophers on the damn Super Bowl. I don't mean that seriously, but I mean, we could definitely have some kind of ridiculous thing you never would have expected in a Super Bowl ad. I mean, that's the way these things do go. And I think it's awesome that Dipcatcher has done this, like, right as this narrative started. I mean, we weren't a week removed, seemingly, from the Pandora platform on Ethereum with these ERC 404s, and he already has these ones out. He clearly had all this stuff in his back pocket, and I did hear him on his great stream the other night talking about how he's been kind of researching this stuff for a while now. But he has all these images made up, that videos made up and everything, character name. Like he had all this stuff ready to go. And the funny name too, because Gophers actually stands for what?
Good old fashioned unregistered security.
Yes.
That's what
Fantastic. Like, tongue-in-cheek humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and the other point. So I wanted to make sure we brought this up. So he also made them so they were thick liquidity. So there's a limit to any kind of massive downsides. Also could limit upside, of course, too. But it makes the chart look really nice from the beginning. We're not seeing like an instant crash back down or anything like that. What would be some other potential advantages of that, Ewok? Because a lot of times, like with these new tokens and things, usually people set them with thin liquidity because they want to have these like, gigantic moves that they can brag about eventually. But what do you make of him providing or having thicker liquidity with these as far as like a long-term strategy?
Well, it just supports the price. Now it does make them harder to run, but take a look at the chart. I'll pull it up again. I mean, it's
not too many days, but still.
Well, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, and it's looking pretty healthy. Now, obviously, this first run up was before a lot of the liquidity was probably put in place, which made it run harder. And then, people started adding liquidity right in here or wherever, within this general range somewhere is when they started adding it. So, it could taper off, but keep an eye on it. It could easily get to $1,000, I think, as it takes off.
Oh, I think it practically already was there, nearly. Yeah. So, yeah, we're very close, and I know the copy on the one on ETH, which the ETH one was deployed first, by almost a day, I believe. So it's actually kind of weirdly followed the trends that we've seen in the PulseChain ecosystem with the difference in prices, actually. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to keep. Go ahead.
I didn't look at the price on. Let me look up the price on Ethereum. I'm going to check it out while you're talking.
Yeah, it was a little bit discounted, I believe, from the PulseChain one, but and then what I was thinking too is also like, so when you find out which gopher you get, and apologies for me as somebody who just hasn't really dealt with NFTs too much, but would you essentially just go and like you can check out which one you have on OpenSea, and
Yes.
is that so? How does that work? Like you actually can trade them on there, and then the other question I saw somebody bring up is, does OpenSea support PulseChain? Like, do we know what's going on there? Because I've never used OpenSea.
So here's the thing: you don't just trade the NFT. You have to send one full token to somebody, which gives them the right to it. Like once you own that, it's not then detachable. I don't believe from the coins. Because you already have it's tied to the 1.0 amount of tokens. So essentially, rather than you don't have to use OpenSea, you would just send that address to the one token, and they would end up having control of that.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the ETH version, yeah. So it's at about 750. So yeah, I didn't even notice. What was the PulseChain one at? Like 850 or 9 or something?
741.
Well, that's what this is the ETH one right here, right? It's 741.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Last I looked, the Pulse one was like outpacing it by just a little bit. I don't know if it still is, but I mean, this is something that I definitely am interested in these. I just kind of wanted to let a little bit of time go by and see where we go. 898. It looks
898 to 741. Yeah. So real close. Still pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. Kind of mirrors some parity numbers of some other things in PulseChain versus Ethereum. So Daddy Hexler says he got some gophers on the first day. Pretty happy. I mean, yeah, I would be too. I mean, this is, under different circumstances, like if this were way deeper into the bull market and, this narrative had already been around for a while, and maybe he just did come out with these or whatever, and it's kind of a lagging thing, that would be one thing. But I mean, DipCatcher is on top of this. He deployed this as soon as this narrative picked up. PulseChain already is getting a lot of notoriety for some of the altcoins that are on it. We see more and more people coming here, especially because the fees are so low. A lot of people are like comparing PulseChain and Solana recently because, two popular layer ones, but Solana already is run very hard. So we are seeing people spill over into PulseChain now. So, yeah, I think this could be a really good catalyst.
Speaking of fees being really low, if you need to do anything on Ethereum, it's under 20 right now. So
yeah. Somebody said Gwei was looking good today, and yeah, I just saw that myself. So pretty dang good for a Tuesday. Especially that was the one thing I was going to say with the CRC 404 thing is that was really the culprit of those crazy gas prices last week. I mean, we saw like
over 200, 250.
I saw 300 a couple times.
Oh, I didn't see that, but
yeah, I sent you a couple screenshots, I know, but yeah, I saw 300 now it was only for like minutes at a time, but still, yeah, it was absolutely insane last week. And even in the evenings, like it wasn't even just during the daytime. So yeah, so calming down a little bit on the initial ERC 404s, but I'm sure more are going to come. And yeah, shout out to DipCatcher. I'm definitely interested in these and excited to follow these as we get through the bull market here. So
yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts on them at all? On the
no,
gopher?
No,
you have a favorite gopher?
I don't even know their names.
Okay.
Don't have a favorite.
Okay.
It's a cool idea. The graphics are pretty cool. You know what I mean? I like the. He's definitely been thinking about it. You can tell he just didn't throw this together overnight or a week or whatever. He's been planning this thing out with the good old-fashioned unregistered security between the name and the images and the just everything. It's he did a great job with it all, so pretty cool.
I think so too. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Awesome. Well, if you guys are enjoying the stream so far, do us a favor, hit the like, support Real DeFi. We appreciate all of you guys being here. We do this every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Couple of things with this ecosystem real quick. So last week we saw, now there were some kind of, back and forth on this, and you were quick to kind of not just correct, but make sure that people understood what this tweet was about, Ewok. But people did their whole breaking news thing last week when Coinbase suddenly listed, keyword listed, not for sale, all of the Richard Hart tokens. So everything was up there. And I think we have seen that with Hex already before on there, that it was at least just like on Coinbase, but not actually listed for sale. But now we basically had the whole shebang, PulseX, everything was there. But it did list them for the notoriety anyway, and just the fact that Coinbase, maybe is helping break down those walls a little bit as far as even showing them on there. And it shows like the charts and their recent performance, just like with other tokens and stuff like that. This was on the same day that MetaMask actually fixed the issue of showing the Pulse ecosystem balances in USD within the wallet rather than just the token balance. So apparently they got that corrected as well on MetaMask. And this is right off the heels too. I was going to mention this a couple of weeks ago. We didn't ever really get to it, but we had a petition for PulseChain to be basically vote to be one of the automatic RPCs on MetaMask. So if you go to MetaMask and you look at like the different RPCs, different networks that you can add to your initial Ethereum mainnet, you've got all the stereotypes, Solana, Optimism, probably Arbitrum. There's like 15 or 20 on there. But PulseChain is not one of them. So there was a petition to get that added. To my knowledge, has not happened yet. I'm sure Twitter would be flooded with the news if it did. But you can see, I mean, like just by banging on the door as much as people in this community do, they do get stuff done. So interesting to see this from Coinbase. Again, obviously they're not for sale on there. And the small correction in MetaMask. But what do you think these couple of minor changes anyway could be indicative of, as far as the walls continuing to come down with this ecosystem, with Real DeFi, Ewok, as we get here into the bull market?
So I don't know if many people know this, but they have been on Coinbase watch list for several months, actually.
Really?
I've had them. and I said, Degen Moonboy and I are friends from high school, so we talk quite often as well. And we've had them on there. We've been watching the prices. Now, I think they just recently added PulseX, and I think that's what got the attention for all the breaking news. But Hex and PulseChain have been on there for quite some time. So either way, it's cool that somebody noticed and said, "Oh wow, look here, I found this," or whatever. It's been like that, but it got attention on it, and it does go to show you what the community can do and how much noise they can make. Imagine if Coinbase were to actually decide to list one of those. I think if they list any of them, I think it would be PulseChain, just being the layer one, without any kind of sort of reputation preceding it. I think it could happen. So, that could be huge. As far as the MetaMask stuff, the last I saw, the PulseChain was in the lead of all the chains. I think somebody, and I kind of have an idea who it was, but they were voting on Chia, which, I'm not even really familiar with as a chain. I think it kind of came from some of those guys in the Tang Gang that created this Chia. But anyway, as the last I heard, it was blowing, everybody away pretty much as far as numbers. So will that happen? I think it could. Or you just use internet money and it's already there for you.
True.
That's your solution. So, and then what was the other one? Oh yeah, they finally fixed the US dollar amount on PulseChain side.
Right.
So that's really nice too, other than just saying, "Oh, I got here's a couple million tokens or whatever, no idea what they're worth, but that's how many I have." So that is a nice addition. The walls are coming down. You're seeing it. You're seeing the influencers. You're seeing these different things. I know, like him or not, BitBoy or Ben, whatever. One of his missions is to at least, even if he can't crack through CoinMarketCap, to get CoinGecko to list these things properly and give them a ranking where they deserve. I think he does have some sort of inside source there that he said he was going to be working on. So
nice.
slowly, the walls will come down. And I think if CoinGecko does it, it would really put the heat on CoinMarketCap, just because then they would be the only one really, because Coin Paprika lists them properly.
True. They're like the only ones, right?
Right. They are the only ones that list the market cap correctly. The only bad thing about Paprika is they don't pull the volume numbers correctly. So it always shows that it's a very, very, very low volume, even when it's really not. So, but it does show market cap correctly on that one. So I've always kind of gave them their golf clap and said, "Way to go."
Yeah. Paprika doesn't really taste like anything, but they do run a good operation as far as a crypto platform, I think. So yeah, good stuff there. Let me ask you this, just fun question. Percentage chance that, I'll just say Coinbase. Well, no, let's say a major exchange, whatever you deem that to be, Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, crypto.com, whatever. The chances one of them lists, I'll just say PulseChain, just the Pulse token, by the end of the bull market, what percentage chance would you put on that?
45%.
Okay, that was higher than I was going to go. I was going to say like 25%.
Well, when you say one of them, now if you say what's the list, what's the chance of Coinbase picking one of them up? It would be a little bit lower. But
yeah, agree.
But I think between Crypto.com or even something like Gemini, one of those guys picking up PulseChain, I think it could happen. Richard's not ever really had very much nice to say about the Winklevi twins, but so that one may not be, but Kraken could list it, or something bigger could get a hold of it. We've never been a pay to play type community as far as those. Richard always said, I'm not giving you any kind of allocation for it. If you want them, you need to buy them. We're not a VC type deal here. So, we'll see. If it takes off, I think the odds are more likely. And if not this cycle, I think you'll definitely see something next cycle. Um, just because of the reputation being around that long. At that point, you've definitely earned your stripes where, it would be the third cycle for Hex, and second cycle for PulseChain. You're going to see a lot of things, but do we really want them? That's another conversation we could have. Do we want the centralized exchanges when, then are you real DeFi anymore? Because you just throw all that stuff out the window, and you go down the way of Bitcoin, kind of veering off the path of what was crypto invented for in the first place, was to remove the middlemen. And it seems like we're always cheering on getting on a centralized exchange, but I don't know. I'm torn about it because eventually it'll happen, but I'm just not overly a fan of those entities. I don't like it. I like the self sovereignty. I like to be my own bank. I don't really want those, but in order to grow your community, to grow the people that have it, you're gonna need easier on ramps where you can basically press a button and have it bi-weekly for you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I have all the same conflicting feelings you do. I do think if it were just Pulse anyway, just Pulse gets a listing, I think that would be somewhat interesting because it really, especially if it was one of those bigger exchanges, like it's really going to open a lot of people, bring new eyes to it. But
sure,
then also that'd be a nice way of like, okay, now you've got it, and maybe it won't even be native Pulse. Maybe it'll be like WPLS, like the ETH version of it or something like that. So you may still even need to bridge it then after that. So that's the way a lot of these exchanges were last time around with like I had some familiarity with Phantom last time around. Like you weren't buying native Phantom on a lot of platforms. You were buying the ERC20 version of Phantom. And if
the
you wanted
wrap.
to go over, yeah, and if you wanted to go over that network, you did still have to bridge. So that's why I think it'd be interesting to just get maybe a Pulse listing. So it's like, okay, because we talk about like faucets and stuff like that for people to get over to the ecosystem. If you could get a small bag for yourself and then send it over there,
Sure.
I think that would be kind of cool. And then
Well, it
leave
makes
the
it
rest
easier
off.
for the exchange to list it too. If
Yeah.
they're having to sync with a bunch of different chains, it does make their life a little bit more difficult when something goes down or updates happen or whatever it may be.
Hmm.
To have a wrapped version of Ethereum, then you're not having to sync up another chain or have a node or a validator or anything like that. It does make their life a little easier. So I could
Yeah.
see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty sweet. Let's move on to the main topic here. So, just the other day, a few days ago here, RH tweeted that the free bridge holiday period could be coming to a close. So, I'm having trouble remembering whenever he actually removed, or whoever, developers, whoever decided to remove the bridge fee, when that was. It was probably at least a couple of months ago, I feel like.
I feel like it was right around Christmas, maybe.
I feel like it was even before that, but yeah,
Yeah.
maybe sometime in December. But it looks like that may be going away soon. And for those of you unfamiliar, so basically, what is it? It was like a 0.3% fee on whatever the token was that you were bridging over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a 0.3% fee, whether for anything you were bridging over, whether that be DAI stablecoin, USDC, wrapped pulse, whatever. You would have that fee. Now, of course, you're still paying an Ethereum gas fee if you're bridging over. That's not something that you're going to be able to get around if you're bridging over. If you are going the way of OX Coast, which is a direct ramp to PulseChain, that's a little bit different. But we're just talking about the PulseChain official bridge that you can access at pulsechain.com and just click on the bridge link that's on there. And that's how I would recommend doing that. Actually go to pulsechain.com, go to the website so you're at the actual bridge. But with Richard saying that there's a chance that the free bridge fee could go away here, which has been nice. I mean, I'd have been making all my buys regardless. Don't get me wrong, but it's been really nice. What do you think that might signify is happening now? Is it because perhaps that the bull market is picking up? We are starting to see ETH gas fees, not so much today, but they are getting out of control. He did tweet this in the midst of this ERC 404 extravaganza last week when we had the Gwei at 250 that you and I were just talking about.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why? That we're seeing ETH get out of control, and now it's going to be like, okay, you guys got this free period where all the people who were savvy and here when it wasn't popular to buy PulseChain, like us, we were all here doing this, buying this during this time. Now that everybody's showing up, retail's getting here, it's getting out of control. You guys, when you get over here, you got to pay for it. That's kind of how I took that to be. What do you make of that? And do you think it could be even a signifier of a big time pump coming here soon, which we've already kind of started a pump coming out of that news? So,
yep. And I'm sharing this PulseChain bridge server for those. It's on the GitLab, the new updated version. So I think it's already happened. This just came out yesterday. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. What day was this posted? 2 days ago. So
nice.
I think this is I think the fees are back on. Also, there were some Windows security updates, and oh wait, never mind. Somebody asked Huddle Dog if the fees were back on. He said nope, not yet.
I was going to say I didn't see them actually on the bridge yet. Anyway,
yep, never mind. I thought this was the one that was introducing fees. I was wrong. Sorry. There was an update for the bridge. It just didn't have the fees in it yet. But to answer your question, yes, I do believe that it's just a signal. Hey guys, I gave this free for a while. Gas prices are getting out of control, or they were at that point anyway. You need to bridge over, find your value, because he's mentioned that a couple times too. Come get your free stuff. It's over here. It's still over here. You know, I think what will happen is we need to get some farms. I think bring the farms back that offer the incentive, pairing some of those other tokens. If you want them to come over, you're going to have to incentivize them. I really think so. And pair up some Chainlink and Chainlink or whatever it may be, to get them over, get them incentivized. You know, maybe the gas fees aren't bad enough yet. They will be, or, you know, once they're steady again, they're back to 20 today. So it's not like we're seeing 300 all the time, but it is a signal of what's to come. And, you know, eventually they could get over what, 400 or 500. I think, you know, I don't think that's going to be an issue happening. And especially if ETH goes up to $5,000-$6,000, you know, you're looking at double that even right there. So, yep, I think it's just a sign of things to come. I think it's about to get very bullish, and you know, free rides only last for so long anyway. It doesn't really matter what you're talking about. If there's a coupon, it only is good for so long. So I just think that I think it's about time to get serious and say it's time to pump.
I think so too, and I love the fact that this thing could be going away as like the rest of the market starts to come in, you know. And you know, you got to hand it to Richard, because that's been something as far as his mode of operating here for the last few years. It's just like those who are patient and are, you know, the people that are truly sticking around and truly waiting for these kind of things to pan out and have been DCing along the way. Those people are usually the ones that are going to be rewarded the most, you know.
Yeah.
And he knows how much it takes to be there at the lows and stuff like that. So
yeah, he's done his homework. So he's, you know, he always said 52 weeks to shake out the losers. Well, we are 3/4 of the way there. So
yeah,
we're getting awful close, and it'll be time to just run. I think.
I think so too. It's hard to believe we are literally just 90 days from this thing being a year old.
Yeah.
Just crazy to think of. Crazy to think of also because of how long the wait was. You know, it was starting to get to the point where it was like, he ran away, PulseChain's never coming out, you know, all these things.
Yeah.
And now here we are almost a year into it. So pretty
Yep.
insane.
Time flies
Cool.
when you're having fun.
That's right. Let's continue with some of the RH stuff. So how about this? And shout out to brother KG from Internet Money Wallet. You mentioned Internet Money a few moments ago. Richard just the other day mentioned Internet Money as a potential wallet of choice. I believe that I bookmarked that tweet, and now I can't find it as I'm looking. But he did mention it as something that people have. And of course, Richard's never going to come out and say, like, hey, use this wallet. This is the wallet you should use, especially when it comes to something as serious as a wallet. I don't think he's ever going to come out and do that. And I wouldn't either. I understand why, unless it's one that he created. But for him to say, like, hey, a lot of people are using Internet Money. It appears to be openly audited, and you should also always double check stuff like that to see if it actually is, if it's open source, if it's been audited. But just the fact that he did mention it, I mean, obviously, huge props to KG for this. And how important is it, Ewok, that RH shows support for something as serious? You know, because he's mentioned like liquid loans before. I think he's mentioned Fame before. How and Alex McWhorter's stuff, and those are some protocols, but this one, I mean, being a wallet, you know, being like the of utmost importance when it comes to security, which obviously the seed words are what really matters the most. But what do you make of this? Because I think this is just huge. I mean, for him to actually, I don't want to use the word co-sign, but for him to this seriously rate a product like that as a wallet, how impactful do you think that is? Because I think that's a huge statement for his somewhat approval of Internet Money.
Well, it's a huge endorsement. You know, it's a nice pat on the back. And Richard often says that he won't promote or talk about anything that he hasn't had a chance to look into. Very rarely will he talk about things that he hasn't at least looked at the code. And I'm pretty certain that he probably has, or he wouldn't have mentioned it, especially when there's been talk of him creating his own wallet. You know, he's talked about wanting to do it for a long time. Maybe he doesn't need to now. Maybe he thinks, you know, that this one's good enough, and he had his devs look into it, and they gave it their blessing or whatever it may be. But yeah, I really don't think that he talks about too many things that he hasn't at least looked at the code or looked into, you know, make sure that it was coded properly and there's no backdoors or anything crazy like that. Again, your seed words are your most important thing. But yeah, man, it's got to be a great feeling for the guys that have done projects that he has, you know, said kudos to you guys for what you're doing. So yeah, big shout out. And you know, I've downloaded Internet Money on one of my computers. I had a onboard that just recently I started them with it too, because it's much easier. You know, PulseChain's already there, Ethereum's already there, all your stuff is there. Your tokens are already listed. It just made sense to do it for somebody that wasn't as savvy or has been doing it a long time. It makes sense to use it. The only thing I don't like about it is it's kind of cartoonish when you look at the logo and things like that. Could use a reworking, I think, at some point, maybe when they get the time to do it. You know, important things first. Obviously, make sure it works, make sure it's secure, make sure you're not capturing any data. Those type of things are all super important. But you know, it definitely could use a little bit of a facelift as far as graphics go. It just looks like a 12-bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think that might be intentional, but yeah, I agree with you. And actually, and again, I'm not throwing shade at KG. I certainly
No,
couldn't
not at
have done
all.
any of this
No,
stuff.
I don't mean any of that as harmful at all. It's awesome for what he's done. Sorry, go ahead.
The name of it has always confused me too, actually, though. Like it just, I think it's just too on the nose of a name, which I'm sure probably was their intention, I guess. But when I was first hearing about it, it confused me, you know, trying to think of like new investors and keeping them in mind. It kind of confused me as to what it was, where as much as we kind of are starting to not be able to stand the product of MetaMask. I actually think MetaMask is a pretty good name. I think it implies kind of what it is and sounds cool. But yeah, internet money, I kind of didn't understand when I was first hearing about it what it was. But as far as the product and where it's going to go from here, I agree with you, Ewok, that he'll likely make it look better and better. And the fact, what really matters is the functionality and the fact that, again, you just said it, easiest platform, easiest wallet to get somebody new to PulseChain onto.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
Can't get much better than that.
Yeah, well, go back to the name thing. When one of Richard's comments that was actually in the movie, our made up imaginary internet money is better than your made up.
Yeah.
So I
get it. I mean, I do kind of get it. Yeah, but yeah, I just don't know if other people will get it. Right, I guess what I'm saying, but
well, good. Yeah.
It's cool though. It's cool, and I'm really happy he's out there, and I'm really just happy overall that we do have alternatives out there because there really hasn't been many serious alternatives to MetaMask, and obviously people are out there using hardware wallets like we have our Trezors and Ledgers, even though they're kind of falling by the wayside. Like we have those out there, but it's which one are you kind of hooking that up to use when you're actually using the blockchain? So.
Were we going to talk about this?
That's actually next up. So
okay.
Good job, Joss S by bringing that up. So we'll talk about this BankX thing. We know that they hold a so if anybody is new to this, and we're trying to keep that in mind because we are evident by the chat, we are getting new people in here and new people into the ecosystem, new people into crypto, obviously, because the bull market's starting. But BankX is an entity that essentially created, I always mess this up, but some kind of silver algorithmic stable coin or something like that. Yep. Anyway, I don't think anybody's really interested in that part of it at all, but they are an entity that basically created that and they have tons of hex on Ethereum. So they have a whole bunch of eHex, and traditionally, as soon as it has begun to pump, they've sold some of theirs. I think in total they had... Man, do you remember how much it was?
840 million.
Yeah, hundreds of millions. Yeah.
So the way they got it was because the God whale sacrificed for the BankX project, and it's suspected that he fat fingered. Didn't mean to give them 840 million. It was only supposed to be 84 million or something like that. Anyway, that's how they ended up.
It is weird. I mean, it would be weird of him to give them that much.
Yeah.
Out of all the things to sacrifice for.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they essentially have tons of eHex, and every time it starts to pump, we see them strip away some and sell it. Now, there was a narrative months back that they were doing rolling 30-day stakes of a lot of the bag, which was, I guess, kind of cool to see. But here's the thing, a lot of people keep looking at this like it's some kind of dark flag or dark cloud. And, as long as this is there, as long as they're there dumping, we're never going to be able to pump. They've also said this about Rakim Rochelle and stuff like that for his entities that have all these tokens, of course. Here's the thing, like one entity like that is not going to be able to keep retail coming to this down. It just doesn't... It's just they're so far outweighed by the time that other people actually get into this market. The other thing is, this is actually a good thing. And what I mean by that is, in all these other chains that are out there, like Solana, all the big, layer ones that have these token unlocks and stuff that are literally scheduled. I know throughout the month of February, many of them have them scheduled, Optimism, Arbitrum, all these big blockchains, big bloated blockchains that had VC unknown entities, people that you actually don't know, venture capitalists getting in at prices that you, the public, were never allowed to. Like ICOs you didn't know anything about, getting people in at like bottom of the barrel prices, basically. We don't have that in this ecosystem. We all got to buy the lows. If you didn't DCA, like I saw some prominent people on Twitter bitching that they didn't over this whole period this week. If you didn't, that's your own fucking fault, really. So that's what we have here. We had something that launched at a certain rate. There was some ratio trading, and then pricing got established. If you didn't buy the lows in the bear market, it's your own fault. Okay. Yep. So what we also have here is a beautiful thing because we can identify the BankX wallet. We know who the dumper is. We know the entity. Okay. We know the wallet address. And we know typically what their behavior is because people track it. So that is a huge advantage. Like on this chain, you actually like you're out there. Like people see what you're doing. They see what your moves are and they're able to track it. So you can say like, well, there's still some things we can't figure out. That may be true, but compared to other big layer 1 blockchains, you don't have this kind of information. You have no idea when you're going to get smacked in the face. You have no idea when or why. It just kind of happens. So if this is our problem, if you will, in this chain, whenever somebody dumps, it's nothing compared to these other ones. So I know you probably have some thoughts too, Ewok, but yeah, what do you make of that? And some of the other dumpers too that are notorious.
Well, yeah. It does it scare people away? Sure, because people talk about it. Every chain has it. Every chain has these entities that could dump the price. They have so much. But again, I think they're down to the BankX is down to, I don't know, 730 million tokens at this point. I would rather, somebody the other day said, well, somebody needs to teach them how to place limit orders on 9mm or whatever, or one of the other platforms that has limit orders. Just set a single-sided order and be done with it and let them get out. And I honestly would rather they just dump it. I want to see them eat that slippage. And you all forget during the adoption amplifier, we took on 500 million new coins every day for a year and absorbed that price. And it just, so I think people forget, they get intimidated by that one entity owning so much. Cause FUD because of it. It's really not a big deal. Yes, every time the price goes up a little bit, they do sell, but eventually they won't be there. I would much rather they get out now than when it's 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents, $1. Imagine if we got it to $1 and they just one person destroyed the price for everybody else, because they could. At that point, there's just not that much liquidity for them to dump $700 million. There's not that much in there. They would basically send all that work back. So I would much rather they get out now and be gone, or do what was suggested and set limit orders. We could get through that a lot better. It would not be the negative price pressure, so to speak, if they were just setting single-sided Johnny Chaos.
Yeah, I agree.
And Johnny, I think Johnny was one of the ones that said it the other day too. Don't teach them how to do single-sided staking. Let them dump. Get them out. We just kind of want to be gone. Same with Rockham. I think he sold 7 billion PulseX today or something like that.
Yeah,
he took out made $1 million or something like that, $1 million US, and traded some of it for Pulse. Ended up with whatever, I forget, maybe it was 30 billion PulseX, and got $1 million in cash and a couple $2 billion in Pulse. So
yeah,
we're going to have it. I mean, and the longer it goes, the more thinned out that the market gets, and some of these people get out of there, and we'll never have them back again. Once they're gone, they're gone. And it's just a matter of time. Yeah, I mean, there will be slippage that they get, and I hope they dump it too, because I know there's a bunch of people that probably still have orders set to fill way down low, just in case. You never know, because of those entities. It would be silly not to have a nice little limit order sitting down there at 0.0001 again, just to get as much of that as you could, because I don't think it'll last long.
Yeah, anytime there's an entity like this, you do want them to sell and get out ASAP. Like you
Yeah,
just want to clean it out, especially when the sentiment is less than it will be later in the bull market. Like you'd rather just get it out now.
yeah,
And give us the people that are here and waiting a chance to accumulate at those prices. You know what I mean? And that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, that's just the nature of things because their bags are so big. Like that's one thing to remember too. And I mean, like we can hate on them all we want to, but also, it, they only need a couple of X's. You know what I
right,
mean? A lot of
right.
the people that are waiting and are going to be here the whole time are waiting and are going to be here the whole time because they're waiting for that 100X or more,
Yeah, yep.
So that's just kind of the nature of things. And they will dump soon. I mean, just imagine right now, by the time the Pulse gets back to its all-time high, like a 2.5X or whatever from here, I think we'll see a lot of cleaning out by then.
Yeah, I mean,
Spring
think of it.
cleaning. Yeah.
Yeah, think of it this way: would you rather wait 8 months? Say they dump 100 million hex every month, but they're out. Would you rather wait 8 months, or would you rather the price go up that high and be back to square? You know what I mean? Back
Mhm.
to whatever.
Yeah.
Be back to the start. I just think it's better to let them, even if it does delay going up a little bit. Much rather get them out.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, so don't worry about it. I mean, if you guys are new to this or you hear like horror stories about like, oh yeah, BankX or what are they going to do? I mean, like it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we can identify them, we know who they are, and we can actually follow this stuff. That's just
Yep.
that there are landmines everywhere in crypto. And the ones that are unsafe are the ones with VCs in them,
Yeah.
suits, people that seem trustworthy that really aren't. You want to be in something more like this where it's like, this is a bootstrap bottom, from the bottom up. We all had that, like both of us here on stream, everybody in the chat right now, we all had the chance to buy the low in the all-time history of Hex, PulseChain, PulseX. Like we got those prices if we wanted them. Some of us bought them, some of us didn't, but we had a chance to do it. So, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great time to buy some Pulse today. Matter of fact, I have money on the sidelines. I'm trying to get in ASAP to do so. So you buy your token of choice, but yes, I am definitely interested. Let's wrap up with this Ewok. So from one story regarding BankX dumping to the entity that you just talked about, and that is the God Whale, who did apparently sacrifice some of those hex funds to BankX, but interesting behavior that we saw the other day, and I think this was substantiated. I think I saw it in a tweet, and I think you sent it to me too. The Godwell of all of the hex that he has staked 3 billion hex for a 45-day span. It was like 121 T shares, which is just insane to think of, especially for
121,000
or
t-shirts.
my bad. That's what I meant. I'm looking at it and I didn't say it. 121,000 in 45 days, which is
Yeah.
just ridiculous to think of. So yeah, what do you make of this? I mean, obviously we've been seeing him. And again, for anybody that's new, longtime Hex Whale that has tons of it is sometimes active on Twitter
Mhm.
here and there. Sometimes he kind of goes away, but he's kind of sneaky. Like he'll reply to tweets every now and then, or I've seen him comment like on other streamer stuff and say that he appreciates the streams and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But he's out there. But yeah, what do you make of this? Not necessarily a huge buy from him, but just the fact that he is staking Hex. And again, yeah, 45 days, pretty much everybody watching, not really recommended to stake for that short of a period. But when you've got his 3 billion, and it's 121,000 T shares, not quite as bad. So yeah, what do you make of that behavior from him? It looks like a really good sign as this market starts to pick up.
Well, yeah. I mean, we know he's been benevolent, except for that one blunder, and I really don't. I think it was a mistake. I really don't think he intended to give them that much.
Yeah.
But he has been a benevolent whale. I don't know if you caught this the other day, but when Maddie was putting out the badges from the
Mm.
conference and things like that, he donated 32 ETH, 16 ETH, whatever it was, to pay for all of them
I
so
think I
that
did.
everybody got one.
Yeah.
He's been, like I said, he's been a good actor, except for that one, which we think kind of was a blunder. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Either way, his
He
money.
may just love silver. I mean, he
whatever.
may
He
just
can
be a
do what
token.
he wants. It's his money. He can do whatever he wants with it. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
bottom line. But all in all, he has been benevolent to most of the economy or the community. So, when you talk about this type of 45-day rolling thing, will he, he's always restaked it too. He hasn't been one to peel off principal that I'm aware of. I think he always rolls it back in and just keeps going. But I know one thing, it's going to jack that T-share rate way up. Once this 45-day thing goes, we could we could see 150,000 hex per T-share here soon, just because of what he's
Oh yeah.
doing. And it won't take long to get that number up there. So, if you don't have T-shares now, you might want to get them in before that 45 days is up, because I could see it causing that type of reaction to where a lot of hex does get locked up right before that comes out. And maybe that was his intention. Maybe not, but I do know it's generating, what would that be? 121,006. So almost a
Yeah, when you
million
start
a
seeing per
day.
day. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
probably generate 45 million ish. That's just a rough guess, but crazy. But like I said, that T-share rate will go up when that thing ends. So
Johnny says here, nope, Ewok, it's time, not size, that makes the tier share rate go up.
yeah, but it's ROI as well. So anytime you end a stake like that, the system makes sure that you can't get a better rate than what you had before. Therefore, it rises. You know what I mean? It raises the rate to compensate for it. So either way,
Well, you guys can have that discussion
yeah,
off
we'll
air.
figure it out.
But obviously, like for the average hex staker, I mean, time is really the thing that's on your side more than anything else. Like I said at the beginning of that, I mean, you're not going to be doing 45-day stakes with the bag that you have. That's traditionally not going to get you enough T-shares, may not even make it worth it at that point. So, yeah, but it is good to see this from the God Whale anyway. I mean, we're definitely
Yeah,
seeing that he's committed to this game. He knows the bull market is starting, and people like to track. If you want to track BankX's behavior and stuff like that, go ahead. But give honor to both sides. Look what people like the God Whale are doing and things like that. Look what other people are doing. So, yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Great stream tonight. I think we are on the precipice of really pumping hard. Of course, since we're on the air, we did have a little bit of a dip tonight, but hey, we had a nice last week or so. Again, as we talked about, Gwei is down very low right now. So if you have some moves to make on ETH, go ahead and do it. One thing that, we've been talking about this here and there now. Well, regardless of any wallet you have, go on to revoke.cash anytime you can when Gwei is low. You may have stacks of different signatures or whatever it is that you've signed before, spend limits, stuff like that on websites that you don't really want to have anything to do with. Go on revoke.cash, revoke those permissions off there just to make sure that an entity that you may not even know about or trust anymore that you've given some kind of a signature to in the past, make sure you get rid of it. Especially if it's on a wallet that you really, really care about. Yeah, it's going to cost $1.50, $2 or whatever when Gwei is down here, which even that seems stupid when all you're doing is revoking permissions. But that or the whole stack that you have in there, not really something that you want to risk. So,
yeah.
definitely take advantage of that. So, any final thoughts at all from you, Ewok?
Yeah, one of the things we didn't talk about was the RPC that the Gamma dev has come up with.
Oh,
and I did want to mention that to people. If you go to OX Coast, their website has it. They have recommended it to people, especially if you're getting stuck transactions on PulseChain. Try their RPC settings. Maybe we'll put it in the description or something like that for you with a link to the page. But I have both of them listed. I have a PulseChain public RPC and I have a PulseChain Gamma RPC. They're talking about doing one for Ethereum as well, which will be really nice, where we don't have to use Infura anymore. I think it'll be way more private. They won't be collecting data like Infura does. So that'll be a good thing. The other thing, I don't know if you've checked it out or not, when you show the videos on YouTube, we do have some merch out there that we created, some pretty cool shirts, sweatshirts, things like that. You can go to creativecrypto.com. I think it points you right there, or any of the YouTube videos. There's a couple really cool ones. One of them does say Creative Crypto. Get yourself one if you want to support us. We don't ask for donations or anything like that, but there is some cool shirts out there. So get you some.
Yeah, check them out. Some good designs, if I do say so myself. We've got the BYOB Hex one. We've got PulseX Buy and Burn. We've got the real DeFi PulseChain shirt, actually. So yeah, check them out. We got shirts, hoodies, everything in every size. So we're getting to the point. Maybe we got to get a Gophers one.
Yeah.
I think Dipcatcher said that he's just going to be making Gophers merch, actually. So yeah. Yeah, DJ Moonboy. Tri-Blend is nice. Tri-Blend is a great material. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff for sure.
And smash your like on the way out for us too.
Yeah, support us, support Real DeFi. We appreciate all of you guys being here each and every week. We're getting lots of new viewers here as this market picks up. I did go ahead and put the article for that Coast RPC that Ewok was just referencing there in the chat if you guys want to check it out. And there goes the camera right on time. So we will see you guys right here again next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For my co-host, Crypto Ewok, this has been Broke Boy Crypto. See you next week right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast. See you guys.